Good evening, everyone. Thanks again for joining us on Keep It Real Conversations. Truly appreciate you coming along with me this evening during this thundering, lightning, rainy day. Um, actually has been a day, but I just had the storms roll through for a few minutes here um, at my house or my location, if you will. Um, Looking forward to our conversation tonight. One, I have to apologize. I said last week that I did have a guest lined up. I had my weeks mixed up. I'll actually have the guest next week. Um, I'm not exactly sure how I mixed that up, but that was on me. It's actually next week. I just had my dates wrong. So stay tuned. You'll be hearing more about my guest for next week as well. That should be fun and exciting and something different for us as well. I do want to say thank you so much to Pastor Rosen over at Kingdom Nation. Um, what was that? Last week, um, last Tuesday, I believe it was. Um, he invited me to come over and, well, not come over, but to join what would normally be their Bible study night. Um, but he did a broadcast of fatherhood. So I was able to join him last week along with Minister Williams. I think we had a really great conversation. You know me, I'm all about having conversation. So I think we had a great time, great conversation. Wish you could have had a little bit more time, um, but if you're a father, I encourage you to get out there and look at that and see that as well. Um, just a good conversation all the way around, and I think you'll get something out of it as well. And he has a lot of great content. He streams every week as well. He's a great pastor, delivers a great word as well. I haven't listened to the Father's Day message that he did this past Sunday. I will say I was happy to get in church. I haven't been in church in some time, so I was happy to be able to get into Mount Pleasant for our service. Truly enjoyed that. Um, the deacon actually, and I don't know why his name is escaping me right now, but the deacon actually gave a great word. Um, Loved his word. Deacon McKnight. I knew it was going to come to me in a second. I just had to pause for a moment. Um, but it was truly a good word that I enjoyed. Probably just because I just enjoyed being back in church for a little bit. Um, Hearing some praise and worship, something I haven't really been doing of late. But was happy to be there nonetheless. Hey, Tony, nice to see you. Thank you for joining. As you guys come on in, give me a comment. Let me know that you're there. Let me know who's around. Um, but it's just been fun. It was a good weekend for me, um, for the most part. Um, Better than I expected. It was another one of those dates I've been kind of dreading. This is my first Father's Day without my son being present. Um, my first Father's Day where um, the person initially made me a father um, is not present, at least here with me. Um, but I still do my best to remind myself that he's with the Father now, and he's in better care now than I could ever care for him, and or for himself. And but I do miss him. I'm still in that thing, and I guess it'll never end. But I think about him every day, every single day. But um, overall, it was a good day. I had my grandson. My grandson is in town and staying with us most of the summer, or yeah, most of the summer. Um, and my daughter and my wife, they took care of me as well. So overall, you know, much rather he was here, but overall it was a good night or a good day for Father's Day. Um, I don't know. So it's a lot of things that seem to happen around Father's Day that tend to make me reflect on some things. So, um, if I did not see it or say it to you, if I did not send it to you, brethren, happy Father's Day. Hope you had a great Father's Day as well. What you do is important. It's massively important. Who you are in not just your children's lives, but those that look at you. And I'm sure by now you've learned that you never know who's watching you. You never know who's looking at you. Um, and you're an example. Always remember that you're an example. Even if they don't necessarily say anything, somebody's watching you. And you could be a mentor, don't even realize it until years later, and they'll say something to you a little later. So, men, keep your head up, be strong, continue to do the best that you can. And with God's help, you will be successful in everything that you do. Even sometimes when you feel like you're a failure, knowing that God is on your side, and He has you in place for a reason. You know, I especially appreciate those fathers that step up to the plate where others may not be able to, and taking care of other men, children, and things like that. Um, I appreciate you even more because I know how difficult that can be as well. So, just wanted to take a moment just to say Happy Father's Day, Happy belated Father's Day, um, and I pray that you had a great one. All right. So, because I was planning on the guests, and actually I've known all week. After I got off last week, I was like, you know what? That's the wrong date. Um, I kind of had to switch up my plans, and I'm doing something a little bit different. I know just last week I had random thoughts Monday, and we talked about whatever. Much of it was on a single topic, but um, you know I just wanted to talk about just a few things that I've seen in the headlines. Um, One being the violence that's continuing to happen in our cities. I'm gonna let you know this is not gonna be a downer thing. Um, this whole entire podcast, um, but we have to do something, y'all. We have to uh, figure out what are we going to do different, what can we do different. And men, I am talking to you fathers, I'm talking to you, those who need to step up, and mentor and have conversations with different ones. You need to grab a hold of a young man, um, and kind of guide them and let them know that there's a better way of handling um, frustration other than violence or pulling out a gun. um, I actually uh, just saw a video. I hadn't seen it. It happened 2 days ago. I don't know if any of you have seen it, but just 2 days ago in New York, uh, evidently is a gang related thing from what I was reading. And there's a guy, young man, running through the streets, runs into two children, knocked them down, and um, here comes a gunman in black, masked up, and starts shooting. And he shoots him in the back, he shoots him in the legs. But the whole time, these two smaller kids, and I think it was 10 and 5. I know the youngest was 5, the other one I think was 10, maybe 11. I can't say for sure. Um, are like right there. They are like I'm amazed, and it had to been God that these children were not struck by any bullets because this guy was just like opening fire on this other guy. And literally he's like laying on top of him, all around him, and the guy is just like shooting in broad daylight. And it just so happens that these kids were on the street. I meant to go back and look at the video because I don't know where the parents were, but they was shooting, and the guy just kept shooting at the guy. He started to continue to run off, but he saw that the guy started to get up, so he shot him 2 more times. And the guy that was shot, he survived. But when we have gotten to the point, and I guess I shouldn't say we, when there are those who get to the point where they just don't care about who else can be injured by their actions, including small innocent children. And uh, you know, we have to do something. We have to step up. Change has to come. Change has to be made. Um, and I feel like the only way change is going to happen is when we start to take a hold of our children when they're very young. You know, I believe I said before that children have a way of developing their worldview by the time they're 5 and 6, and we have to start instilling core values, good core values, in our children that early. I'm afraid that, and that's like another whole generation. That could be another 20 or 30 years, maybe even 40 years before we start to see this thing turn around. But we had to start. We had to start investing in our kids. And I know I've heard that all my life, that we had to invest in the kids, and the children are the future and all that. But if you're looking at the news, surely you can see how important that is and how vital that is now, because people are just brazen, for lack of a better word. They just don't care anymore. They just don't care anymore. Um, I don't know. When I saw that and I saw those kids, I mean, literally right there with that man being shot, under his arms, next to his body, just not knowing what to do. When I saw that video, it just hurt me to my heart, and it made me sick in my soul, because I know that's not how it's supposed to be. And I pray for those kids, because I know they're traumatized. I know that they're going to need some help along the way. I know they're probably scared to even go outside and just walk, never knowing. They're going to need some therapy. But I also pray for the gunman, that God will do something to his heart that would change his heart. I know it's gang related, or they say it was gang related. And I know there was a second person that picked him up on a scooter. So that was like two people involved in this shooting, um, that I think we need to pray for, because it's only going to be the power of God that's going to change their heart, that's going to change their mindset, that's going to give them some type of conscience where they know what they're doing is wrong and evil. Only God can do that. And I'm not sure what kind of conversations can take place to change a person's mind and heart when they've gotten to that point where they just don't care, you know, about who can be hurt, including innocent children. Um, I was looking at some stats uh, after seeing that video. In 2021, these are just numbers for 2021. Um, there have been, and think about, we're only in June, we're coming up on the end of June, but halfway through the year, there's been 283 mass shootings. 283 mass shootings thus far. We're 6 months in, we're halfway through the year. And a mass shooting is anything four or more, is what they consider to be a mass shooting. You know, that doesn't, 283 mass shootings. There's 9,100 killed by gun violence. 9,100 people have been killed in 2021 from gun violence in the United States. This isn't worldwide. Does that boggle your mind? I don't I don't know. It makes me ask myself, have I been blind all my life to this stuff, or was it just not reported, or have we really just? It just seems like it's an epidemic. It's something that seems to have just like sprung up over the past few years. No, maybe the past 10 years, that has escalated over time, more and more. But when I hear those two numbers, okay, um, that blows my mind. That blows my mind. 280 mass shootings, 9,100 killed by guns. Killed by guns. Okay. Not all of them by mass shootings. I mean, that could be one-on-one murder, whatever. All right. And this is as of Saturday. This is as of Saturday. It's no telling 2 days later what that number looks like now. And that's scary. That's scary. Something has to be done, y'all. And the first thing that has to be done is prayer by Christians, by believers. It's something that we have to pray about. That's the only way things are going to change. Okay. No, that's not the only way. That's the first step to get things to change. But then we need to be active in what we do. Okay. We need to figure out how do we get the guns off the streets? How do we get legislation to finally see that gun violence is a result of too many guns? Those mass shootings usually isn't because of a handgun, you know. But we need to look at our gun laws. We need to change legislation around that and not worry about, whose money is going into whose pocket. We're talking about lives being lost, in most cases senseless. That's what's happening. And we have to think about how do we get rid of these guns or get them out the hands of those who should not have them. How do we go about doing that? Now, again, I'm all about rights. You know, I think we should be able to bear arms. I think we should be able to protect ourselves. I do. I do believe that there's a place for guns, but obviously we've gotten to the point where we misuse them, and we can't handle the responsibility. Too many of us can't, and I say us, but too many can't handle the responsibility. And I know there's some thoughts, well, just give everybody a gun. Then everybody can defend themselves. And to me, that's just going to cause just more chaos. It's going to be like the Wild Wild West, and people are just going to open up fire. And people are going to, the wrong people are going to have it in their hands, and somebody's going to take something the wrong way, or somebody's going to feel that they're threatened and feel like they're defending themselves. And we know that there have been those who try to use that as, to stand their ground, try to use that as their defense. You already know that people try to use that now. I think it'll just probably cause more trouble, really. So I mean, we have to just really, we have to put pressure on our lawmakers to make a change and make a difference, and don't worry about, they need to understand that we believe our lives are more important than the money that's going into their pockets or the money that they're using to try to get reelected. It's supposed to be for the people, by the people, not by, those who can line their pockets and keep them in office. And I think sometimes we've just lost sight of that. We just lost sight of that. Um, so that's the heavy stuff that I was going to talk about. Feel free to, tell me about how you feel, what you're thinking. If you want to join the conversation, please 410-513-9499. Again, 410-513-9499. As always, I invite you to make a comment in the comment section. Hey, William, nice to see you too as well. Thank you for joining. Enjoy being with you last week. I said something earlier. But again, y'all, make a comment, call in 410-513-9499. But that gun violence thing is like really starting to get to me. Ain't starting to get to me. It's been getting to me for a while. But we need to figure out what we're going to do to make a change. So that's my heavy thing for today. Something that's less heavy. Vaccines. Where are you at with your vaccine? I've been doing contact tracing on the weekends. I probably started in December. Next weekend will be my last weekend doing the contact tracing. Thankfully, because the number of cases have dropped down so much. And truthfully, I can tell you the cases started dropping when people started getting the vaccine. The vaccine works. I can tell you that. All right. This isn't propaganda. The vaccine works. It keeps people from getting sicker than what they need to get sick. Okay. Hey, Sandra, nice to see you. It keeps people from getting sick or getting as sick as they possibly can get. Okay. Um, so if you are holding out, please do the research, look at the numbers, look at, how well it's working, how people may or may not be getting sick, what are the symptoms, look at all those things. But because people started getting vaccinated, I didn't get a chance or an opportunity to look to see what our current rate is in Maryland, but I know it was pretty high, where at least people have gotten the first dose. Okay. Um, it's pretty high. I think it was like above the 70% mark the last time I looked at it. And I forgot to look at it before I got on tonight. But if you're looking at it, this is the reason why we're starting to open back up. This is the reason why we're starting to get some of that freedom back. Now, I, for one, still wear a mask. I'm fully vaccinated as well. I still wear a mask when I go into public places because I know there are those who are not vaccinated. Okay. But I'm starting to see as I'm going into different stores, there are many people not wearing their mask again. Now, you have no idea that whether or not they've been vaccinated or not. You don't know, probably never will know. Because one thing I don't think I would like to have to happen is us always having to show proof of vaccination every place we go. I don't know, that doesn't sit well with me, where I had to start carrying papers, if you will, to go to different places. Okay. Um, that doesn't necessarily sit well with me. But it's because people have gotten vaccinated, because um, you know the case numbers have dropped down and things like that. And that's what I was saying earlier. Haven't been a contact tracer. The reason why I'll be done next weekend is because uh, I'm not having to call a lot of people, nor do I need to contact a lot of people um, that they associate with. That's what contact tracing is all about. Talking to those who have tested. Now, there are still some cases that come about, but talking to people that have tested positive and then finding out who they may have been in contact with over a certain time period and contacting those people. That's a big job. That was a big job. And we had a nice workforce in the area that I worked in. Okay. But now the need has diminished greatly, thankfully. This is one job, and I was really just doing it to help out and get a little extra cash, to be honest. Um, but I was really doing it, and honestly, to help distract me from other things that had been going on in my life as well. There's three things. I wanted to be of help. I wanted to get a little extra cash, and of course, be a little distracted um, from other personal things happening in my life. Um, but all those things, you know, this is one position I'm happy to lose um, because it shows that we're moving in the right direction. But I guess my question is, why haven't you gotten vaccinated? Okay. I see you, Sandra. Sandra, you're saying you're going to keep your mask on. Like I said, I still keep my mask on. Um, Part of it is, the mandate hasn't officially been lifted. It's supposed to be lifted July 1st. You know, now when I'm at work, I don't wear it because that's been given. We've been given the okay not to do that at work if you're fully vaccinated. But if you don't feel comfortable, you can still wear your mask. It's not like they're saying take the mask off. But I still, like I said, when I go into public spaces, I still wear my mask. You know, um, and it's not just for me or my safety; it's for those who I may come in contact with. You know, so uh, something that Bishop Johnson said yesterday. Um, and I know you probably heard it before and everything. Um, this isn't really about having confidence. And I just want to echo what he said. It's not having confidence in what the doctors say, like Dr. Fauci or the experts say. It's not about having confidence in the medication per se, or the science behind it and all that. Uh, sure, that may make you feel comfortable, but it's really about the confidence of knowing that God is still in control and has been in control through this whole pandemic. And you want to put your confidence in God and knowing that He is the creator of all things. Okay. And He's created these things for us. He created those doctors, He created those scientists, He created that vaccine. Okay. And even though there are different variants coming down the line and things like that, He created all those things so that we can combat it and bring us out of it. Oftentimes we pray for things to happen. We often pray for those things to happen. And then when we're given the answer, we still want to doubt that God sent it. So if you are a believer, and I guess this is only two believers, if you're still holding out, I ask you to trust God and go get your vaccine. Okay. It's good for you. And not only that, it's best for your neighbor. The Bible tells us that we should love our neighbor like we love ourselves. Love your neighbor. Okay. So don't think about it. I'm doing it for me. All right. It's the same thing why we should have been isolating and quarantining and everything like that and wearing a mask. It really wasn't about you. You really should have been thinking about your neighbor, protecting your neighbor. And I'm not talking about the person that lives next door. Your neighbor is anybody that has a need. And right now, the need is the entire world. The entire world was affected by this pandemic. Okay. So get yourself vaccinated. All right. I like that. Hey, cuz, I like that, man. I haven't seen you in a minute. It's not about confidence. It's about common sense. You're right. You're absolutely right. I mean, again, I understand if you were hesitant at the beginning. I was hesitant at the beginning. I wanted to see more. I wanted to hear more. I used to joke, I want to see if anybody grow an extra eye. I want to see if anybody grow any extra limbs. Okay. But the science is there. It works, and we need to put aside all that other rhetoric that we heard by certain politicians. Okay. We need to put all that aside. If the science shows that it works and that it helps, and that it's a benefit to society, not just you, but to your neighbors. Okay. We need to make sure we do that. Hey, Deborah, I don't know if I said hi, but hey, Deborah, nice to see you. All right. Gregory says, God also gives others the knowledge to put information out there based on the work they do. Amen. I agree. God answered prayers. I'm amazed that sometimes, God will answer prayer. And, you know, we don't see it because it doesn't come the way we want to, because it doesn't come the way we think it should come. It was the same issue with the Jews. It was the same issue. They asked for the Messiah, but because he didn't come the way they thought he was going to come or the way they thought he should come, they didn't receive him. Now, certainly, I'm not saying that these scientists or these doctors are Jesus by no means, but when do we recognize that God answers our prayers? He continually does it, but because we don't see it the way we think we should see it, we don't want to accept it. Okay, so again, God answered prayers. God answered prayers. All right. So folks talk about don't know what's going to happen to me in 10 years if I get the vaccine. 10 years ago, did you see COVID coming? Wake up. Wake up. Yeah. Ain't no telling what's going to come down the line in 10 years. And don't be concerned about whether or not this was man-made or if it got transferred from a bat, whatever. The answer, the good thing is we have an answer for right now. And again, I understand there's questions. I understand there's questions and there's doubt. But again, I encourage you, read, research. Okay, get yourself to a comfortable place. Get yourself to a comfortable place, especially if you're older. Okay, you know, if you know that you're beyond childbearing years, okay, or you know that you're not going to have any more children, because I know that's one of the concerns that's out there. All right, if you know if that's your concern, but you know that that's something that you ain't trying to do, go ahead and take it. Go ahead and get it done and over with. Okay, go ahead and do it. Whatever your concern may be, you're not promised another 10 years anyway. I'm praying that the Lord come back before 10 years is up. Personally, if he don't, fine. But guess what? In 10 years, he'll keep me and keep you too. In 10 years. And whatever we face then, he has the power to keep us then too. That's what we had to remember. There's nothing that's going to come to us that God does not already know and have a plan for. He already has a plan for what is going to even happen 10 years from now. So trust God. That's why I started with have confidence in the Lord. Have confidence in him. Not in the scientists, not in the doctors, not even in the medication. Put your confidence in him and say, Lord, I'm trusting you that this is the right decision, that you sent this vaccine to help benefit me and my neighbors. And again, a neighbor is anybody that is with it, that has a need. Okay. You know, when it comes to vaccines, this isn't like the first time we've had to do vaccines. When you think about all the different diseases, you know, even just the flu, we've just gotten used to getting flu vaccines every year. All right. And I know people like to say, I get sick from the flu vaccine and all that. I'm sorry, the science says that you don't. More than likely, you probably already had the virus when you got the vaccine, and it just, you know, the vaccine didn't cause it. It's no way it can cause it. More than likely, you was already sick when you got the vaccine. All right. But with any vaccine, you know, it isn't 100% effective for everybody. It's just not. But when you think about all the other things we have eradicated because of vaccinations and the efforts that have been done, you know, I was talking to my mom. She was reminding me that me growing up, I couldn't even get your kids into school. Okay. Couldn't even exactly, Gregory. I was getting ready to say that. Couldn't even get your kids into school unless they had certain vaccinations. Couldn't even get them into schools. Okay. And that's still the case. Not supposed to be getting them into school unless they had certain vaccinations. But that helps keep those things from spreading. And we don't have to worry about those things. So vaccines work. Okay. See, Gregory, in the last 15 years, there have been outbreaks of Ebola, bird flu, many different strains of the flu, and even mumps made a comeback. And the reason why things like mumps and things like that have made a comeback is because of what they call the anti-vaxxers, those who just don't want to vaccine their children. That's the only reason why it made a comeback. Those things are real. Now, I'm not putting anybody down. I'm not going to tell anybody how to raise their children and things like that. I'm not going to say ignore symptoms. I'm not going to say all that. All that stuff is true, but it's going to help more people than it's going to damage people. It helps more than does damage. Unfortunately, yes, there are some cases that may come about. Unfortunately, okay. We had that with the Johnson and Johnson. You know, but considering how many doses were delivered versus 6 people who had an issue, I'd rather have that small amount of people have an issue than the masses be protected. That's just how it is. You know, there's always going to be somebody who's going to be sick from something. And we just have to face the facts. Hey, Antonio. Tony, like you, man. Thank you for joining tonight. Appreciate you. So vaccines. Anybody else want to chime in on that? I just got one or two other things I want to talk about before we move on. So again, I talked about uh, gun violence. We gotta talk. We gotta do something. We gotta catch hold of it. And I don't know what we need to do, but we definitely need to band together about that. And then where are you at with the vaccines? Hey, Mike, thanks for joining. Um, the technology for vaccines actually existed before the outbreak, which allowed them to develop it so quickly. Yeah, yeah. Um, this is not the first time we've had this type of virus. Okay. And please, y'all, again, don't just listen. When I say that, I'm not saying there were 18 other COVIDs. Okay. I know there's some people out there that still ask the question, you know, how come we didn't have to get vaccinated for COVID 1 through 18? That's not how it works. It's given a name based on the year that they believe it was launched. And this was launched at the end of 2019. That's why it's COVID-19. If you don't know that, if you haven't heard that, that's what I'm saying. That's why you need to make sure you research and don't just listen to people. Read it for yourself. Find out for yourself. Take the time, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Go to some reputable websites, not just one or two, and research, find out for yourself. Honestly, it's just like reading your Bible. Don't just go by what you hear on a Sunday, on a webcast, on a radio, on YouTube. Don't just go by that. When you hear something, read it and back it up with the Word of God. Because again, it always blows my mind. I think it was last week when I said there are people out there who just don't believe what the Word of God says. They what was it? It was last week I was talking about how they were saying about spare the rod, spoil the child. It's not in the Bible. That's crazy. That proves that people don't read. People don't read. And really, that's one of my pet peeves. And I said it last week and I'll say it again. People don't read. I send out emails, give instruction. People don't read. And I know they don't read because they come back with the question that's already in the email, the first email. People don't read. I'm sorry. That's a different topic. People irk me sometimes, though. That's one of them things that get underneath my skin. Thank you, Mike. You can go to the website allsides.com. Okay, that's a neutral site. All right. I tend to go to CNN. I go to things like that. Things that I consider to be reputable, that kind of stay middle of the road. Now, there's nothing is completely in the middle. It's very hard to find something that's completely in the middle. But take some time and read, and not just propaganda. There isn't anything wrong with science. There's nothing wrong with science. God gave us, like I said, He gave us scientists. He gave us a universe to observe. He gave us a universe to not just observe, but witness who He is in His creation. He wants us to discover Him, even through science. Science usually proves God, not disproves Him. Science usually just leaves you in greater wonder. And that's why He did it. So science is a good thing. He wants you to question. Okay? If you don't want to vaccinate your child, keep them away from mine and others based on your belief. I believe you're an idiot. So I should have read ahead there, Gregory. Okay. But that's your thought. That's your opinion. That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. I'm not going to go as far as call somebody an idiot, but I will say they are misinformed and not enlightened. I don't want to call them an idiot. Okay. So again, please, if you haven't done so, get vaccinated. With that being said, if you are vaccinated, be coming up on this big holiday, which is the holiday that they were all kind of pushing. And I know there's going to be some people who have going to have the conspiracy. They're only doing it because of the 4th of July and things like that. And things were never as bad as they said they were, and things like that. But um, I, for one, having been a contact tracer, I don't. It's hard for me to believe that just the numbers just suddenly drop off, and they correspond with vaccinations with the vaccination push. I just find that hard to believe. Um, but with that being said, what's your plans for the 4th, if any? Are you going to get together with family? Or are you still going to wait a little bit? You know, are you going to request or require mask being worn if you're not outside doing something, even at your family gatherings? You know, what are your plans? Do you feel safe enough to do so? Where are you at with your with gathering as a family group? And again, the only reason why we can do even consider that at this point is because of the results that we're seeing. So I'd like to hear about that as well. Um, I know personally, I don't think we have any real plans. I hadn't really thought about it. But yeah, I don't have any real plans as far as the 4th is concerned. If anybody's cooking out and I know that you can cook, hey, I'd be happy to come by. And I'll just lift my mask up while eating your burger or your whatever. Okay. Um, yep. I see you, Mike. Yeah, I'm hanging out with some of my besties too, and it looks like we're gonna be in the same location. Yeah, I'm looking forward getting away the following weekend. Um, so looking forward to that as well. Uh, that's going to be a great time. Um, research says that 2002 China and COVID symptoms are very similar. They were in a mask mandate as well because it was a respiratory illness. Yeah, and we all remember seeing those pictures of them wearing their mask, and we're thinking, man, that's crazy. We remember those days when we see that on the news. This isn't brand new. And as Mike said, I mean, that's when research really started back then, where this whole COVID thing is all about. It's just now it was just a very aggressive strain that we came up against in 2019. It's just a very aggressive strain, you know. So um, when you're thinking about it, if you're still thinking about it, I encourage you. Looks like those that are on tonight encourage you. Get yourself vaccinated. You'll be thankful. Um, and it'll just make you feel better as well, you know. And I won't lie, it seems to me of late when I talk to people, um, there are less and less people saying they are dealing with a lot of hard symptoms after that second shot, because I know that was a big concern as well. Um, I, for one, and I know most of my friends, it was like maybe a 24-hour thing. Now, like I said before, when I got my shot, I was almost looking forward to getting the shot just so I can take a day. I was looking for it. And all I did, I just slept. If you sleeping, you ain't feeling nothing anyway. I felt fatigue, soreness in the arm from the shot, things like that. I think a little nausea, if I remember correctly. But like I said, most of the day I just slept, and I needed it. I needed it. I was almost looking forward to getting the shot just so I could sleep. you know. But I've talked to others, including seniors, who have gotten the shot. And it's like, nah, I've been fine. A little soreness, and that's about it. So take the time to make sure um, to research and get that vaccine. Okay. All right. So um, plans for the holidays. What you think? You're gonna get together again? Feel free to call in 410-513-9419. All right. Good. Sandra concurs. She was fine with her second shot. Okay. Good. getting back to hanging out with family. Definitely have conversations about vaccines and getting vaccinated. Be safe. Get great conversation. Great. Thank you very much. Yeah. And really, that's all it takes. Just have a conversation and say, hey, you know, love to have you. Hopefully, you're vaccinated. If not, make sure you wear your mask. Just come on through. I'll give you a to-go plate. If you just want a hug, I'll see you in a couple months. Okay. Um. All right. All right. So Deborah says, I'm fully vaccinated. My symptoms were a little soreness after the second one and sleepy. That sounds pretty much like me. Mike said when he got it, it put him under the bed. That's really bad. But like I said, I haven't been hearing any severe things of late, you know. And maybe that's just because sometimes you wonder if people create things in their mind because they expect it, because that's what they hear. Not saying that that was you, Mike. I'm sure yours were authentic. But, sometimes I just wonder, I'm supposed to get sick, so I'm sick. That's just how some people are. Um, but, again, like it's been said over and over again, I'd rather be sick for a day than get sick and be in the hospital and then possibly die, or get sick and then have those around me get sick because I'm now sick and put them in jeopardy. Again, it's not about you. It's about your neighbor. Love thy neighbor. Okay. That's command from the Lord. All right. Um, the other thing. So here's some good news that I do want to share. Marriage. Marriage. Um, we always talk about 50% of all marriages in a divorce. Um, and that, sometimes even Christians outpace that number. All right. And I forget how I came across this. I was probably just looking for like some Christian headlines or trending topics for Christians and things like that. But I came across, it says there's a burner group, and I don't know if you heard about the burner group, but they do surveys and things like that. They're one of those groups. Um, but marriage for Christians, okay, 59% are very satisfied. Very satisfied. 59% of Christians who are married are very satisfied. 22% are somewhat satisfied. Now, that does not sound like I mean, because that's what, 81%? That doesn't sound like 50% of us are getting divorced. And it sounds like when it comes to Christians, because they have God before them and that God is with them in their marriage, uh, they have um, additional help in their marriage. Okay. They have someone on board helping them in their marriage. All right. Um, so when it comes to that, actually, I'm going to share another screen with you. I'm going to share another screen with you because I was looking at this survey. Let's take that off. All right, and this was the website Marriage Helper. Okay, you can see here it talks about. Oh, you can't see it. Sorry. Boom. Hello. It's not showing. Oh, there it is. All right. So you can see here Marriage Helper. Okay, you can see for all Christians. You can see the different categories and things like that. All right. 61% for all Christians are very satisfied. 20% are somewhat satisfied. Okay. Um, things like that. All right. Um, you can see some of these other categories: neutral, somewhat frustrated, very frustrated. All right. So you can see here U.S. adults. Okay. Very satisfied, somewhat satisfied, neutral, somewhat frustrated, very frustrated. That's U.S. adults. 59%. All Christians, 61%. Practicing Christians, okay? Because there's a difference between being a Christian, one who believes they are a believer, okay, and one who's actually practicing, okay, and being a disciple, all right? 73%. Look at that. When you're a disciple of Christ, when you are actually pursuing God, all right, and you are both pursuing God, look at how much of an advantage you have in keeping your marriage together. Okay. Christians not practicing, 54%. And that drop off there. Okay. And then non Christians, 54%. All right. So basically, what it looks like to me, almost if you aren't practicing, you say you're a believer, but you're not really practicing. Okay. You're in the same boat as non believers. You're in the same boat. If you really think about it, you're not doing yourself um, any favors. Okay. Non-Christians. So again, somewhat satisfied, 21, 24, 20, 22, 22. All right. You can see here, those who are very frustrated, those numbers, well, I guess actually it's about the same, but you can see somewhat frustrated, 10%, 8%. But then when you look down here, okay, like, well, really don't want to skip over the practicing Christians, only 3% are somewhat frustrated. But then you have your 12 and 16. So by no means am I saying that if you are a Christian, um, there aren't going to be issues and there aren't going to be moments of frustration. And you know what? These numbers may change. You know, I'm meant to double check this number because I wanted to see if this was a reflection of the pandemic. How recent is this particular survey? When was this survey actually done? Okay. Because when you think about it, if this is during pandemic months over this past year, you can see how having God with you, okay, having God with you benefited you during this pandemic. Because I was hearing a lot on the news that there were a lot of people getting divorced. There were a lot of issues in marriages. There was a lot of issues with domestic violence, okay, depression, things like that. Um, but this kind of shows you that if you have God, if you keep God in your marriage, if you're a practicing Christian, if you're using biblical principles to help guide you every day, you have a greater chance of making your marriage work than not. Okay. If you're a non-Christian, you know, or a non-practicing Christian, okay, you pretty much in the same boat. You trying to do things on your own. And by now, I would hope, well, for some of us, we will learn as you mature that the more you put your hand in it, the more likely you're going to mess it up. If you lean more on Christ, okay, the better off you're going to be. When you are working out of your own emotions and feelings, things like that, you're gonna mess it up because your flesh is going to get in the way, and you're not going to see the spiritual battles that you are facing, even within your marriage. So these numbers don't show. It doesn't say that God makes every marriage perfect. It doesn't say that, you know. Um, but having God in it certainly does make a big difference. I will say that. Okay. Um, hmm, okay. I just saw something else on the screen, but I didn't have enough time to to really look into it. So I'm not going to show it. All right. So those are my thoughts. Again, um, just another argument in which you need to pursue God. Pursue God to make your life better. You know, that's something that I will always encourage people to do. Pursue God, and He makes everything better. He makes everything better. You know, um, pursue Him with whatever issues you may be facing, no matter what may be happening in your life. when you pursue him and include him, all right, he has a way of making things work. He has a way of helping you see the path that you need to take. So consider God. If you have not considered God, please do consider God. Take the time to get to know him because he is the way. Jesus Christ is the way. He is the truth. He said it himself. And, it's the truth that enlightens you and causes you to move forward and helps you to see what needs to be seen. And it's the spirit that helps educate you and gives you the knowledge. Okay. So consider God if you have not done so. If you are a non-believer, you just have to check in, please feel free to contact me. The number's right there, 410-513-9499. Leave me a message. I did see somebody, actually two people called, but they didn't leave a message, so I didn't have any idea who it was or what they were calling about. So leave a message, just something quick and brief. If I'm not able to answer, I'll call you back. Just give me a good time to give you a call back. Or you can, as always, leave a message here on the podcast itself. Leave a comment, or you can direct message me, and we can talk about the best conversation you'll ever have, which is all about salvation and knowing who God is and knowing what his son did for us on the cross. And I no longer take for granted that people know what he did on the cross. I no longer take for granted that people even know who Jesus Christ is. As amazing as it may sound for those of us that grew up in church and been around church people all our lives, there are still those people here in the United States still don't have an idea who Christ is. They may even have heard Jesus Christ. They may even use the phrase Jesus Christ, but they don't know who he is. They don't know what he did. So I never take for granted that people know. Okay. So if you want to know more, please feel free to reach out. Thank y'all again. If there's no other comments, I appreciate y'all coming again this week. You'll see an announcement early or mid next week about my guest coming up. I just want to confirm with him one more time that he's going to be available. And that should happen today, actually. And we'll have a good conversation next week as well. Thank you again. Know that I love you. But as always, God loves you more. And I am truly looking forward to seeing you all next week. Stay dry. Try not to get too hot and moist out there. I know we're going to have a couple more moist days out there. It's supposed to be nice and cool tomorrow, so I'm looking forward to that. But it's going to heat back up. You know what? Pray for those who are out in the Midwest dealing with the drought and all that. Start praying for the West right now, because when you've had a big drought, every year we start having those fires out there in the West. It's been a drought. It's been dry out there. I expect that there may be a lot of fires out there, but we can pray about that and ask God to hold back the fires. We can ask God to, send the rain that's needed with this drought. Okay. Send some of the rain we get here. If we're at our totals, send it over there. Help them out a little bit. Pray for your neighbors. Think about your neighbors, because that's what God commanded us to do. Thanks again. Looking forward to seeing you guys real soon. Be blessed. And once again, love you.